The last signal, Captain. Zara Vex pressed her six-fingered hand against the cold metal wall of her dying ship. The lights flickered one last time before going dark forever. Around her, the crew of the Stellar Wind worked in desperate silence, their blue skin pale with fear. "Captain," called out Engineer Crix from across the bridge, his voice shaking. "The main power core is dead. We have maybe 3 hours of backup power left." Zara closed her four eyes and tried to think. Her people, the Zalari, had been space travelers for over 1,000 years. They knew every trick, every way to fix a broken ship. But this time was different. This time they were truly lost. "Where are we exactly?" she asked her navigator. "Unknown space, Captain. The star charts don't match anything in our database. We're at least 50,000 light-years from home." The bridge fell silent. 50,000 light-years. It might as well have been forever. 3 days ago they had been on a simple trade mission to the outer colonies. Then something went wrong with their jump drive. Instead of arriving at their destination, they found themselves here in empty space with stars they had never seen before. "Captain." The communications officer suddenly sat up straight. "I'm picking up something strange." "What kind of something?" It's a distress beacon, but the signal is weird. I've never heard anything like it." Zara moved to look at the screen. The signal was unlike anything in their databases. It pulsed in a pattern that seemed almost musical. "Can you trace where it's coming from?" "Yes, Captain. It's about 2 light hours away. There's a ship there, but—" The officer paused, looking confused. "Captain, the ship is huge, bigger than anything I've ever seen." Zara felt her heart skip a beat. "How big?" "At least 10 times the size of our largest battleships." "And Captain, it's moving toward us." The bridge erupted in whispers. A ship that size could only mean one thing. They had found someone powerful. The question was friend or enemy. "What do we do, Captain?" asked Crix. Zara looked around at her crew. 23 souls, depending on her decision. Their ship was dying, and they were lost in space with no way home. Whatever was coming toward them might be their only chance. "Send out our own distress signal," she ordered. "Tell them who we are and that we need help." "But Captain, what if they're hostile?" "Then we'll die fighting instead of just dying," Zara replied. "At least that's something." The communications officer worked quickly. "Signal sent, Captain. Now we wait." They didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, a reply came back. But when they heard it, everyone on the bridge stopped breathing. The voice that came through the speakers was unlike anything they had ever heard. It was rough, deep, and spoke in a language that their computers couldn't translate at first. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the human warship Defiance. We received your distress call. Are you in immediate danger?" "Human." The word sent chills through the entire crew. Every race in their part of the galaxy had heard stories about humans. They were legends, myths, ghost stories told to frighten children. Humans were supposed to be extinct. They had vanished from the galaxy over 200 years ago after fighting a war so terrible that entire star systems had been destroyed. Some said they had all died. Others whispered that they had gone into deep space, beyond the edge of known reality. But here was a human ship, real and solid. "Offering help, Captain," whispered the communications officer. "What do I tell them?" Zara's mind raced. If the stories were true, humans were incredibly dangerous. They were known for their violence, their refusal to surrender, their strange ability to keep fighting even when all hope was lost. But they were also known for something else. They never abandoned those in need. "Tell them yes," Zara said quietly. "Tell them we need immediate assistance." The reply came back quickly. "Understood. We're coming to you. Prepare for docking. And don't worry, we're here to help." As the massive human warship grew larger on their screens, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that their lives had just changed forever. In the distance, she could see the ship clearly now. It was black as space itself, covered in weapons and armor that looked like it could tear apart planets. But painted on its side, in letters that glowed with soft white light, were words in the human language: "Never leave anyone behind." "Captain," called the navigator, "they're requesting permission to come aboard." Zara took a deep breath. Whatever happened next, there was no turning back. "Permission granted," she said. "Let's meet our rescuers." But as the airlock cycled open and heavy footsteps echoed through their ship, Zara wondered if they were about to be saved, or if they had just invited death itself aboard. First contact, the airlock hissed open, and Captain Zara Vex got her first look at a living human. Captain Sarah Chen stepped through the doorway, and Zara had to fight not to step back. The human was tall, much taller than any Zalari, with pale skin and strange hair that looked like spun metal. But it was her eyes that caught Zara's attention. They were a bright blue color, like the heart of a star, and they seemed to see everything at once. Behind Chen came two more humans, both wearing thick armor that made them look even bigger. They carried weapons that hummed with energy, but they kept them pointed at the floor. "Captain Vex, I assume," Chen said, and her voice was softer than it had sounded over the radio. "I'm Sarah Chen. These are my officers, Lieutenant Rodriguez and Sergeant Kim." Zara nodded slowly. "Thank you for responding to our call, Captain Chen. We didn't expect to find humans out here." Chen smiled, and it was a strange expression on her alien face. "I'll bet you didn't. Most people think we're all dead." She looked around the bridge, taking in the flickering lights and the worried faces of the Zalari crew. "What's your situation?" "Our jump drive malfunctioned," Zara explained. "We ended up here, wherever here is. Our main power is dead, and we have maybe 2 hours of backup power left." "We can fix that," Lieutenant Rodriguez said. He was smaller than Chen, but moved with the same careful confidence. "Our engineering team can have you powered up in an hour, just like that," asked Engineer Crix, his voice full of doubt. Sergeant Kim, who hadn't spoken yet, looked at him. "Human ships are built to operate alone in deep space for years at a time. We carry enough spare parts and equipment to rebuild entire fleets if needed," Chen nodded. "The real question is, where were you trying to go? We can help you get there, or at least get you somewhere safe." Zara felt a wave of relief wash over her. "The Kelton system. It's about 40 light years from our home world." "Never heard of it," Chen admitted. "But we have the most advanced navigation computers in the galaxy. If it exists, we can find it." She paused. "There's just one problem." The relief vanished instantly. "What problem?" "You're not just lost, Captain. You're in the middle of a war zone." The bridge fell silent. "What do you mean?" Zara asked. Chen activated a device on her wrist, and a hologram appeared in the air between them. It showed a map of local space with dozens of red dots scattered across it. "This entire region is controlled by something called the Void Hunters. They're the reason we're out here. They've been attacking colonies along the edge of known space, wiping out entire planets." Zara stared at the map. "We've never heard of these Void Hunters. Most people haven't. They don't leave survivors." Chen's expression darkened. "We've been tracking them for months, trying to figure out their pattern. They seem to be searching for something." "What kind of something?" "We don't know yet. But whatever it is, they're willing to kill millions to find it." Chen looked directly at Zara. "The point is, getting you home isn't going to be as simple as fixing your ship. We'll have to fight our way through their territory." Crick spoke up nervously. "Maybe we could wait here until they move on." Sergeant Kim shook his head. "They don't move on. Once they claim a system, they stay there, and they'll find you eventually. When they do—" He didn't finish the sentence. "So what do you suggest?" Zara asked. Chen was quiet for a moment, studying the star map. "We escort you out. The Defiance is equipped for long-range combat. We can punch through their lines and get you to safety." "Why would you do that for us?" The question came out before Zara could stop herself. "The stories say humans are, they say you don't care about other races." For the first time, anger flashed in Chen's blue eyes. "The stories are wrong, Captain. Humans have never turned away from someone who needed help. That's not who we are." Lieutenant Rodriguez stepped forward. "Captain Chen lost her entire family when the Void Hunters hit New Shanghai. She's been hunting them ever since." Chen shot him a look, but didn't deny it. "The point is, we're not leaving you here to die. It's not an option." Zara felt something strange. Hope. Not just for survival, but something more. "What do you need from us?" "Your ship's database. Any information you have about trade routes, colonies, fleet movements. The Void Hunters are planning something big, and every piece of information helps." "Done." Zara said without hesitation. Chen smiled again. Good. Rodriguez, get your team over here and start on their power systems. Kim, I want a full tactical sweep of the area. If the hunters are nearby, I want to know about it. As the humans began moving with practiced efficiency, Zara pulled Chen aside. Captain, can I ask you something? Sure. Where have humans been for the last 200 years? What really happened to your people? Chen was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the stars through the bridge's main window. We went home, Captain. Back to Earth. When the last war ended, we were tired. Tired of fighting, tired of politics, tired of watching good people die for stupid reasons. She turned back to Zara. So we went home and started over. Built better ships, better technology, became better people. But now you're back. Now we're back, Chen agreed. Because sometimes, when the darkness comes, someone has to stand in its way. Before Zara could ask more questions, alarms began blaring on both ships. Sergeant Kim's voice came over the radio, sharp with urgency. Captain, we've got incoming ships. 20 contacts, unknown configuration. They're moving fast and they're not responding to hails. Chen was already moving toward the airlock. Void hunters. They found us faster than expected. She stopped and looked back at Zara. Captain, I need you to make a choice right now. Do you trust us? Zara looked around her bridge at her crew at her dying ship. Then she looked at this human who had appeared out of nowhere to help them. Yes, she said. I trust you. Then get your people ready. We're about to show you why humans don't stay hidden anymore. As Chen disappeared through the airlock, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that she was about to witness something that would change everything she thought she knew about war, about humans, and about what it meant to fight for others. Outside, the enemy ships were getting closer, and somewhere in the darkness, the human warship Defiance was preparing to remind the galaxy what happened when you threatened the innocent. The human way of war captain Zara Vex had seen space battles before. She had watched fleets dance around each other, firing careful shots while trying not to take damage. War, as she knew it, was about strategy, patience, and staying alive long enough to win. She was about to learn that humans fought differently. All Zalari crew. This is Captain Chen, came the voice over the intercom. We're transferring you to our ship. Your vessel is about to become a battlefield, and I won't risk your lives. Within minutes, Zara and her crew were aboard the Defiance. The human warship was like nothing she had ever seen. The corridors were wide and built for running. Every wall had weapon racks. Emergency medical stations were everywhere. This wasn't just a ship, it was a fortress built to fight and survive. Chen met them in the observation deck. You can watch from here, she said. The armor will protect you, and you'll be able to see everything. Through the massive windows, Zara could see the enemy ships approaching. 20 vessels, each one larger than her own ship, moving in a perfect formation. They looked like dark insects against the stars, their hulls covered in spikes and weapon ports. Void hunters, Chen said quietly. They're not like other raiders. They don't want your cargo or your territory. They want to delete you from existence. How do we fight 20 ships with just one? Asked Engineer Crix. Chen's smile was cold. We don't fight fair. The Defiance suddenly lurched forward, accelerating so fast that Zara felt her stomach drop. But instead of heading toward the enemy ships, they were diving toward the nearby star. Captain Chen, Zara said nervously, you're heading directly into that star's gravity well. I know, Chen replied calmly. The enemy ships followed, gaining speed as they fell toward the star. Their formation remained perfect, disciplined. They were clearly experienced hunters, confident in their numbers. Human ship, came a voice over the radio, speaking in the common trade language. You are interfering with our hunt. Surrender the prey, and we will grant you a quick death. Chen picked up the communicator. When she spoke, her voice was ice cold. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the human warship Defiance. You have threatened innocent people under my protection. I'm going to give you one chance to run away. Laughter came back over the radio. One human ship against 20. Your species was always insane. Yeah, Chen said, almost to herself. That's what makes us dangerous. She turned to her crew. All hands, battle stations. Remember, these things don't take prisoners. Fight like humans. Zara didn't understand what that meant until the shooting started. The Void Hunters opened fire first, sending waves of energy blasts toward the Defiance. But the human ship didn't try to dodge. Instead, it flew straight into the weapons fire, its shields blazing as they absorbed the damage. "Are they insane?" whispered Navigator Toll. Then the Defiance fired back, and Zara understood. The human weapons weren't like anything she had seen before. Instead of careful, targeted shots, they unleashed a storm of destruction. Missiles, energy beams, and projectiles poured from every part of the ship. The Defiance didn't fight like a warship. It fought like a force of nature. But the real shock came when they reached the star's gravity well. Instead of pulling away, Chen pushed the ship even faster, diving deeper toward the burning surface. "She's going to kill us all," someone whispered. "No," said Chen, who had heard. "I'm going to kill them all." At the last possible moment, the Defiance spun around the star, using its gravity like a slingshot. The maneuver was impossible. No normal ship could survive the stress, the heat, the gravitational forces. But the Defiance wasn't a normal ship. It was built by humans, and humans built things to survive the impossible. The enemy ships tried to follow, but they couldn't match the human ship's maneuver. 3 of them were caught by the star's gravity and pulled in, screaming as they burned. The remaining 17 ships found themselves scattered, their perfect formation broken. And the Defiance was now behind them, moving faster than anything had a right to move. What happened next wasn't a battle, it was a demonstration. Chen didn't try to fight all 17 ships at once. Instead, she picked them off one by one, using the star's gravity, the local asteroids, and the enemy's own confusion against them. The human ship moved like a living thing, never where the enemy expected it to be. "Target the engines first," Chen commanded her crew. "Disable them, then finish them. I want them to know they're dying." "Captain," Zara said, horrified by the cold efficiency of it all. "They're trying to surrender." Chen looked at her, and for a moment, Zara saw something terrible in those blue eyes. "Did they offer to surrender when they were hunting you? When they wiped out entire colonies?" She shook her head. "Void Hunters don't get to surrender. They get to learn what happens when you threaten innocence." Ship after ship fell to the human warship's guns. The Defiance took damage too. Its shields failed twice, and hull breaches appeared along its sides. But it kept fighting, kept moving, kept destroying. Finally, only one enemy ship remained. It was trying to flee, its engines pushing it away from the battle as fast as possible. "Let it go," Zara said quietly. "You've won. Let it carry word back to its people." Chen considered this for a moment. Then she nodded to her weapons officer. The last ship disappeared in a ball of fire. "No," Chen said simply. "No witnesses. No one gets to threaten my friends and live to tell about it." The battle was over. 20 enemy ships had become debris and gas. The Defiance hung in space, battered but victorious. Zara looked around at her crew. They were all staring at the human officers with a mixture of awe and fear. She understood why. What they had just witnessed wasn't war as they knew it. It was something much more primitive and much more effective. "Is that how humans always fight?" she asked Chen. "No," Chen replied. "Usually we're much more violent. But I didn't want to scare your people too badly." She was joking, but Zara wasn't sure she was entirely joking. "Why?" Zara asked. "Why fight so hard for people you just met?" Chen looked out at the stars, where pieces of enemy ships were still drifting. "Because that's what humans do, Captain. When someone hurts innocents, we hurt them back. When someone threatens our friends, we make sure they can't threaten anyone ever again." She turned back to Zara. "We learned a long time ago that the only way to have peace is to be so dangerous that no one wants to fight you." "And it works? You tell me. How many Void Hunter ships are left in this system?" Zara looked out at the empty space where 20 enemy vessels had been just an hour ago. "None." "Exactly." Chen smiled, and this time it was warm instead of cold. "Now let's get your ship fixed and get you home. We have a promise to keep." As the human crew began repairs on the stellar wind, Zara couldn't stop thinking about what she had seen. The galaxy thought humans were extinct. They were wrong. Humans weren't extinct, they had just been waiting for a reason to come back. And when they did come back, the galaxy would never be the same. Secrets in the dark. 3 days later, the stellar wind was flying again. The humans had not only fixed the power core, but upgraded half the ship's systems. Engineer Crix couldn't stop talking about the new technology. "Captain, you have to see this," he said, pulling Zara into the engine room. "They didn't just fix our jump drive, they made it better. We can now travel twice as far with half the energy." "Why would they do that?" Zara asked. "We're just strangers to them." "I asked the same question," Crix replied. "The human engineer Rodriguez told me something strange. He said they upgrade every ship they rescue because you never know when you'll need friends in the dark." Zara thought about that as she made her way to the bridge. The two ships were traveling together now, the massive Defiance staying close to protect the smaller Zalari vessel. They were heading toward the edge of Void Hunter territory, towards safety and home, but something was bothering her. In 3 days of travel, they hadn't seen a single enemy ship. For a territory that was supposed to be crawling with Void Hunters, space seemed remarkably empty. "Captain Chen," she called over the radio. "Can we talk?" "Ship to ship?" "Of course." "What's on your mind? Where are all the Void Hunters? We've been in their territory for 3 days, but we haven't seen anyone." There was a long pause before Chen replied. "We were wondering the same thing. It's unusual. Our long-range sensors are picking up massive energy signatures deeper in their territory. Something big is happening." "What kind of something?" "We're not sure yet, but Captain, there's something I need to tell you. The reason we were in this region wasn't just to hunt Void Hunters." Zara felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" "Can you come over to the Defiance? This is something you need to see in person." An hour later, Zara found herself in the human ship's war room. The walls were covered with star maps, tactical displays, and what looked like thousands of pieces of information. Chen stood in the center of it all, looking tired. "Captain," Chen said, "what I'm about to show you is classified at the highest levels. But given what's happening, you have a right to know." She activated a holographic display, and Zara gasped. The map showed not just the local region, but a massive area of space, hundreds of star systems, all connected by lines of movement. "This is what we've learned about the Void Hunters over the past year," Chen explained. "They're not random raiders. They're part of something much bigger, something that's been planning this for a very long time." The display zoomed in on various systems. Each one showed the same pattern: inhabited worlds, then silence. 63 civilizations, Chen continued. Gone, completely wiped out. Not conquered, not enslaved, deleted, as if they never existed. "But why?" Zara whispered. "That's what we've been trying to figure out." Chen touched a control, and new information appeared. "At first, we thought they were just destroyers, but then we noticed something. Every civilization they attacked had one thing in common." "What?" "They all had ancient ruins. Artifacts from the first civilization." Zara's 4 eyes widened. Every spacefaring race knew about the first civilization. Millions of years ago, someone had built cities on thousands of worlds, then vanished. They left behind only ruins and artifacts that no one could understand. "The Void Hunters are collecting first civilization technology," Chen said, "and they're willing to commit genocide to get it." "But for what purpose?" Before Chen could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom, sharp with urgency. "Captain, you need to get to the bridge now." They ran through the corridors, reaching the bridge just as the main display lit up with incoming signals. "Report," Chen ordered. "Long-range sensors are picking up a massive energy spike," Rodriguez said. "It's coming from the center of Void Hunter territory. Captain, the energy levels are off the charts. Whatever they're doing, it's huge." Chen studied the readings, her face growing pale. "How massive?" "Enough to power an entire star system, or..." Rodriguez paused, checking his instruments again. "Captain, if these readings are correct, they have enough energy to tear a hole in space-time itself." The bridge fell silent. Zara looked around at the human crew, seeing fear on their faces for the first time. "What does that mean?" she asked. Chen turned to look at her, and Zara saw something she hadn't expected. Desperation. It means the Void Hunters aren't just collecting first civilization technology, Chen said quietly. They're building something with it. Something that could destroy not just worlds or star systems, but entire sections of the galaxy. What kind of weapon could do that? Not a weapon, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Sergeant Kim entering the bridge, carrying a data pad. Captain, I've been analyzing the energy patterns. This isn't a weapon they're building. Then what is it? Kim looked around the bridge as if afraid to speak. Captain, I think they're building a gateway. A gateway to where? Somewhere outside our galaxy. Somewhere in the void between galaxies. Kim's voice dropped to a whisper. Captain, what if the Void Hunters aren't from our galaxy at all? What if they're from somewhere else, and they're trying to open a door to bring their entire civilization through? The implications hit everyone at once. If Kim was right, then the Void Hunters weren't just raiders or conquerors. They were scouts, preparing the way for an invasion from outside reality itself. How long? Chen asked. Rodriguez checked his instruments. Based on the energy buildup, maybe 48 hours. After that, they open their door, and everything we know ends, Chen finished. Zara felt like the universe was spinning around her. What do we do? Chen was quiet for a long moment, staring at the tactical displays. When she spoke, her voice was filled with grim determination. We do what humans have always done when faced with impossible odds, she said. We fight. How can we fight something like this? It's just one ship against an entire invasion force. Chen smiled, and this time it was the most dangerous smile Zara had ever seen. Captain, there's something else I haven't told you about humans, she said. When we left the galaxy 200 years ago, we didn't just go home. We prepared. We built things. We made ourselves ready for the day when the galaxy might need us again. She touched a control on her command chair, and the bridge's main screen changed. Instead of showing local space, it showed something else, something impossible. The Defiance isn't alone out here, Chen said. She's the tip of the spear, and Captain, it's time you met the rest of the spear. On the screen, space began to shimmer, and then one by one shapes began to appear out of nothing, ships, dozens of them, all as large and dangerous as the Defiance. The human defense fleet had arrived, and they were ready for war. The last stand, Zara stared at the screen in disbelief. 30 human warships hung in space around them, each one a fortress of metal and weapons. They had appeared from nowhere, as if the universe itself had decided to give them a chance. How? She whispered. Captain Chen smiled. Stealth technology. We've been watching this region for weeks, waiting to see what the Void Hunters were really planning. When you stumbled into our patrol route, it gave us the perfect excuse to get closer. Admiral Marcus Kane materialized on the bridge as a hologram, his weathered face grim with purpose. Captain Chen, Captain Vex, he said, nodding to both of them. I wish we could meet under better circumstances. Admiral, Chen replied. What's our situation? Bad and getting worse. Our deep scouts report that the Void Hunters have gathered over 300 ships around their construction site. But that's not the worst part. The main display changed to show a massive structure floating in space. It looked like a ring made of twisted metal and crystal, crackling with energy that hurt to look at. They call it the Gateway, Kane continued. Our scientists estimate it will be ready to activate in 18 hours. Once it opens, we calculate they can bring through up to 50,000 ships in the first wave. Zara felt her heart stop. 50,000? From a civilization that exists in the void between galaxies. They've been trying to break into our reality for millions of years. The Void Hunters are just their servants preparing the way. Engineer Crix, who had joined them on the bridge, spoke up nervously. 30 ships against 300 and then 50,000 more. How is that even remotely possible? Kane's expression was stone cold. Because we're not just any 30 ships, son. We're humans. And humans don't know how to quit. Chen stepped forward. What's the plan, Admiral? We're going to destroy that gateway before it can activate. The problem is, it's protected by a shield that draws power from the local star. As long as that star exists, the shield is unbreakable. So we kill the star, Chen said simply. Zara looked back and forth between them. Kill a star? That's impossible. Kane smiled grimly. Captain Vex, Your people have been traveling space for 1,000 years. Humans have been doing it for 3,000. We've learned a few tricks. The next few hours were a blur of preparation. The human fleet arranged itself into attack formation, while scientists and engineers worked frantically to prepare their most dangerous weapons. Zara and her crew were transferred to the Defiance's most protected section. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez said to Chen, "the Nova bomb is ready. But if we use it, we have maybe 10 minutes to get clear before the star goes supernova. 10 minutes to fight through 300 enemy ships and destroy the gateway," Chen mused. "Should be interesting." Zara couldn't believe how calm the humans seemed. They were about to attempt something that should have been impossible against odds that made victory laughable. But they acted like it was just another day at work. "Why aren't you afraid?" she asked Chen. Chen looked at her with those bright blue eyes. "Oh, I'm terrified," she said quietly. "But that doesn't matter. Fear is just an emotion. What matters is what you do despite the fear." The fleet began moving toward the Void Hunter stronghold. As they traveled, Kane's voice came over the communication system to address all ships. "Listen up, people. In about 3 hours, we're going to face the worst odds humanity has ever seen. 300 enemy ships now, 50,000 more coming. They want to destroy not just us, but every living thing in the galaxy." His voice carried to every ship, every crew member, every human soul in the fleet. 200 years ago, our people went home because we were tired of fighting. We thought we could leave the wars behind, find peace in isolation. But peace doesn't come from hiding. It comes from being strong enough to protect what matters. Zara found herself holding her breath, listening to words that seemed to carry the weight of history. Today, we remember what we are. We are humans. We don't surrender. We don't retreat. We don't leave anyone behind. And when the darkness comes calling, we answer with fire and fury until the darkness learns to fear the light. The fleet roared its approval. 30 ships full of warriors ready to die for strangers they had never met. As they approached the Void Hunter territory, the enemy fleet came into view. 300 dark ships arranged in perfect formations around the massive gateway. The structure itself pulsed with evil energy, reality bending around it like wounded space. "My God," whispered Navigator Toll, "look at the size of that thing." The gateway was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. Energy crackled between its twisted spires, and through its center, Zara could see something that made her soul scream, a glimpse of the void between galaxies, where things that should not exist waited to pour through. "All ships," Kane commanded, "execute attack pattern Omega. Remember, we need to buy the Defiance 10 minutes to reach the star." 10 minutes, people. The galaxy is counting on us." The battle began. 30 human ships charged into 300 enemy vessels, and space exploded with weapons fire. The humans fought like demons, their ships dancing through enemy formations, taking terrible damage but never stopping, never slowing down. The Defiance broke away from the main battle, racing toward the star that powered the gateway's shields. Behind them, human ships died one by one, taking dozens of enemies with them as they fell. 5 minutes to starkill, Rodriguez reported. "But, Captain, the enemy is moving to intercept us." "How many?" 50 ships, and they're faster than us." Chen's jaw tightened. "Then we make our own door." She turned to Zara. "Captain, I need to ask something of you. Your people are natural navigators, better than any species we've ever met. I need you to guide us through that asteroid field." Zara looked at the screen. Between the Defiance and the star lay a field of spinning rocks, each one capable of crushing their ship. "At this speed, through that chaos, it's impossible." "Please," Chen said quietly. "My crew can fight, but you can navigate. Help us save everyone." Zara looked around at the humans who had risked everything to save her people. Then she looked at the gateway, where horrors from beyond reality waited to pour through. "Navigator Toll, take the helm," she ordered. "Everyone else trust in human engineering and Zilari navigation. We're going to thread a needle at impossible speed." What followed was the most insane flying anyone had ever attempted. The Defiance plunged into the asteroid field with 50 enemy ships in pursuit. Toll's 4 eyes tracked a dozen trajectories at once, calling out course corrections that Chen's crew followed without question. Behind them, enemy ships crashed into asteroids or were crushed between spinning rocks. But some made it through, their weapons tearing at the Defiance's hull. "Hull breach on Deck 7, came a report. "Shields at 30%. "Keep flying," Chen shouted back. "We're almost through." The Defiance burst from the asteroid field with only 12 enemy ships still following. Ahead of them, the star burned like an angry eye, its surface crawling with solar flares. "Nova bomb armed and ready," Rodriguez reported. "But Captain, those 12 ships are going to tear us apart before we can deploy it." Chen looked at the tactical display, her mind racing through options. They were so close. Just a few more minutes and they could end this nightmare forever. But 12 enemy ships were too many. That's when Captain Zara Vex made a decision that would be remembered for 1,000 years. "Captain Chen," she said, "transfer me and my crew back to the stellar wind." "What? Why?" Zara's 4 eyes blazed with determination. "Because humans aren't the only ones who know how to sacrifice for others." She turned to her crew. "My friends, we came into this space lost and afraid. These humans saved us, not because they had to, but because it was right. Now it's our turn." Engineer Crix understood first. "Captain, you can't mean to." "I can and I do," Zara said firmly. "Crix, can you overload our new power core?" The engineer's face went pale, but he nodded. "Yes, Captain. With the human upgrades, the explosion would be significant." "Significant enough to take out 12 enemy ships?" "More than enough." Chen grabbed Zara's arm. "There has to be another way." "There is no other way," Zara replied gently. "You have seconds to deploy that Nova bomb, and those ships will stop you, unless something stops them first." The human captain's eyes filled with tears. "I won't let you do this." "You're not letting me do anything," Zara said with a smile. "I'm choosing to do it, just like you chose to save us." She looked around at the bridge crew. "Just like all of you chose to fight for people you'd never met." Before Chen could stop her, Zara activated the transport system. In a flash of light, she and her crew were back aboard the Stellar Wind. "All human ships, this is Captain Vex of the Stellar Wind," she broadcast on all frequencies. "It has been an honor to know you. Tell the galaxy that the Zalari stand with humanity. Tell them that when darkness came, we chose to fight." The small ship turned away from the Defiance and accelerated toward the pursuing enemy vessels. Behind them, Chen's voice came over the radio, broken with emotion. "Zara, please!" "There has to be another way." "There is no other way, my friend." "But Sarah, remember us. Remember that we chose to be brave because humans taught us how." The stellar wind smashed into the center of the enemy formation. For a moment, 12 enemy ships and one small Zalari vessel occupied the same space. Then Crix triggered the overload. The explosion lit up half the star system. When the light faded, 13 ships had become scattered atoms and memories. On the Defiance's bridge, tears streamed down Chen's face. But her hands were steady as she gave the final order. "Deploy the Nova bomb. Do it now." Lieutenant Rodriguez, his own voice thick with grief, confirmed the launch. "Nova bomb away. Impact in 30 seconds. The weapon streaked toward the star like a silver needle. When it hit, the star began to die. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the star's surface began to change, growing brighter and more unstable. Solar flares erupted in all directions, and the star itself began to expand. "All ships, emergency jump now." Admiral Kane's voice crackled over the radio. "The star's going nova! Get out of here!" The Defiance and the surviving human ships activated their jump drives and fled the system. Behind them, the star exploded in a burst of light and energy that outshone entire galaxies. The shock wave caught the gateway just as it was beginning to activate. The massive structure designed to survive the death of civilizations cracked and shattered under the force of a dying star. The portal that would have brought horrors from beyond reality collapsed, sealing itself forever. The 300 Void Hunter ships, caught in the supernova's blast, simply ceased to exist. 24 hours later, the human fleet floated in empty space, licking its wounds. Of the 30 ships that had begun the battle, only 16 remained. Hundreds of human lives had been lost, along with Zara and her entire crew, but they had won. The gateway was destroyed. The invasion stopped before it could begin. The galaxy was safe. Admiral Kane's hologram appeared on the Defiance's bridge, where Captain Chen sat staring out at the stars. Sarah, he said gently, it's over. We did it, did we? Chen asked quietly. Look at the cost, Marcus. All those good people gone. Because they chose to be heroes, Kane replied. Because when the moment came, they decided that others were worth dying for. That's not a tragedy, Sarah. That's the most human thing there is. Chen nodded slowly. What happens now? Now we go home. We report what happened here, and we make sure the galaxy remembers. The Void Hunters are broken, their gateway destroyed. It'll take them centuries to try again if they ever do. And the other races? The ones who thought humanity was dead? Kane smiled sadly. I think they know better now. Word of what happened here will spread. They'll know that humans kept their promise. We never left. We were just waiting in the dark, ready to come when called. Chen stood and walked to the memorial wall, where the names of all who had died were now inscribed. At the top in letters of gold were the names of Zara Vex and her crew. They saved us all, she said softly. Yes, they did. And Sarah, I think Captain Vex would want you to remember something. What's that? She didn't die because she was afraid. She died because she learned to be brave. Because humans taught her that sometimes the greatest act of courage is to stand between the darkness and the light, no matter the cost. Months later, when the story spread throughout the galaxy, it became legend. They called it the Battle of the Dying Star, and it was remembered not just for humanity's return, but for the courage of a small Zelari crew who chose to stand with friends they had known for only days. Space stations and colonies across 100 worlds began to display a new symbol. 2 stars intertwined, one blue for humanity, one silver for the Zelari who died beside them. It became a reminder that courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it, and in the deep places between the stars, where darkness gathered and evil things whispered of conquest, a new truth was learned. Humanity had not gone away. They had simply been waiting, preparing, becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. They had become guardians, and they would never, ever let the darkness win. The end, in the darkest hour. When hope seems lost and evil triumphant, remember this: somewhere in the void, human ships patrol the borders of reality itself. They carry with them the memory of all who chose courage over comfort, sacrifice over safety. They are the watchers in the dark, the guardians at the gate, and they will never leave you alone in the night. Memorial inscription. Stellar Memorial Station. Dedicated to Captain Zara Vex and the crew of the Stellar Wind. Heroes who taught us that courage knows no species.